Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise, distill complex topics, and hopefully give you some clear insights. Today, we're diving into something, well, profoundly human. It's that universal desire for a second chance. The hope of moving past mistakes. Just the right to begin again. Because, you see, maybe a decade ago, it felt like the law had finally kind of caught up with our digital lives. It gave us this tool, this power over our online past. But now there's this new, incredibly sophisticated challenge, something that threatens to make our past permanently, well, unforgettable. We're talking about artificial intelligence. So our mission today is to really unpack this, understand what's truly at stake for you, the listener, and explore the path forward. We've got insights from leading legal scholars, from experts in the field. We're going to examine how AI is reshaping our digital past and really what it means for your future in this new age. So this idea of digital forgetting, it's not actually that old in legal terms, is it? Where did this right to be forgotten concept really start to take hold?
No, it's surprisingly recent, actually.
Hmm.
And what's fascinating is how one single landmark case really brought it into sharp focus. Back in 2014, the Court of Justice of the European Union, they delivered this groundbreaking ruling. It was Google Spain v. AEPD and Mario Costeja Gonzalez.
EPD.
Oh, sorry, yes. That's the Spanish Data Protection Agency.
Got it. And why was that case so significant? What was the sort of human element it tapped into?
Well, it wasn't just about setting a legal precedent, though it did that too. It resonated deeply because it basically codified into law this really fundamental human desire for redemption, maybe. It recognized that individuals, under certain conditions, should be able to ask for personal data to be removed from search results.
So freeing you from the shadow of a past that might be totally irrelevant now, but it's still just out there online.
Exactly that. The law was, in effect, drawing a clear line in the sand. It said, hang on, the internet's perfect memory shouldn't just override someone's right to move on with their life.
Okay, so let's say you had some old information online, maybe a debt from years ago that was settled. You could potentially get that removed from Google search because it wasn't really relevant anymore. Sounds like a big win for, controlling our own stories online.
It really was. It was a recognition that our digital footprints shouldn't define us forever, especially when the information was outdated or, frankly, no longer served any real public interest. And this right, as many listeners probably know, it's also a cornerstone of the GDPR framework.
The General Data Protection Regulation.
Exactly, specifically Article 17. But crucially, it was designed with traditional databases in mind, places where personal data is seen as this discrete, identifiable, and importantly, deletable record.
A deletable file. That sounds like a pretty strong safeguard.
Uh,
But I guess the problem is technology rarely stands still, does it? Was that line in the sand strong enough for what came next?
Unfortunately, no, because what we're facing now is, well, it's fundamentally different from those traditional databases.
And this is where AI comes in. The unforgettable machine, as some are calling it.
Precisely.
We're not just talking searchable databases anymore. So what is it about AI, especially these large language models, LLMs? What makes them so different when it comes to memory and, I guess, forgetting?
Yeah, the core issue here is this fundamental mismatch. Our laws, like GDPR, they think of data as records. Files in a cabinet.
Something you can find and remove.
Exactly.
Mhm.
AI, particularly these LLMs, they just don't store data like that, not even close.
How does it work then, if it's not storing files?
Well, during the pre-training phase, these models ingest just vast, vast amounts of text data, huge corpora. But this information isn't saved neatly in a file you can retrieve later. Instead, it gets converted into, well, it's described as a complex matrix of numerical weights and biases.
Okay.
Professor Lillian Edwards at Newcastle University put it really well. She argued that for AI, personal data is not a file to be deleted, it is a pattern to be learned.
A pattern to be learned.
Yeah. The data gets kind of atomized, abstracted, and then it's deeply embedded into the very architecture of the model itself. Think of it maybe like baking a cake. Once you've mixed the eggs and flour and sugar and baked it, you can't just unbake the eggs, right?
Right.
The data becomes part of the cake's structure, its texture, it's inseparable.
Wow. Okay, so if it's not a file, not something you can just point to and delete, what on earth does an erasure request even mean for AI? How do you ask an AI to forget something it learned like that?
And you've just hit on one of the biggest challenges facing both lawyers and tech experts right now. It's huge. An erasure request in this context, it's not a simple delete this file command anymore. It becomes a demand to perform something. Someone called it a form of digital neurosurgery on the model.
Digital neurosurgery. That sounds incredibly complex.
It is. Researchers are really only just beginning to explore how to do this. There's this emerging field called machine unlearning, trying to figure out how to make the model unlearn specific things without breaking it.
Is it even truly possible to make it forget, or are we just talking about, I don't know, trying to lessen the influence of that data?
That's a really critical point. It's unbelievably intricate. You're not finding a specific data point. You're trying to subtly adjust potentially millions or billions of those weights and biases.
Without collapsing the whole cake.
Exactly, without collapsing the cake. And Professor Sandra Wachter at the Oxford Internet Institute, she made this vital point. The right to erasure is basically rendered hollow if it cannot be practically and verifiably enforced.
Right. If you can't actually do it
Yeah.
and prove you've done it, what's the point?
Precisely. And there's another layer. The very act of trying to make an AI forget could actually compromise the integrity and performance of the entire system.
Wow.
So now you have this direct conflict, an individual's fundamental right versus the utility, the basic functioning of the technology itself. It really challenges the whole AI design philosophy, which has always been about accumulating more data.
So let's talk stakes. What does this actually mean for people's lives? For you listening, if AI can't really forget, what are the implications? You mentioned predictive perpetuity. That sounds ominous.
It is an unsettling concept, yeah. And it's not just theoretical. Predictive perpetuity means that things you did in the past, once an AI learns them, could potentially forever influence future opportunities. Even if those past actions are totally irrelevant now, or even if they legally should have been forgotten.
Can you give an example?
Yeah. Think about AI models used in, say, judicial risk assessments. These exist. They're being used.
Right. Or for loan applications, job screening, insurance.
All of those.
Yeah.
Now imagine one of these models was trained on data that included maybe a minor nonviolent offense from 10, 15 years ago. Data that, under the right to be forgotten, probably should have been erased or at least disregarded by now.
Okay.
But the AI learned it, so it might perpetually classify that individual as a slightly higher risk. Forever.
Wow.
This creates exactly the kind of cycle of prejudice that the law sought to prevent. The person is essentially trapped by this outdated digital shadow, constantly affecting their chances in life.
Like applying for a mortgage. And some system flags you because of an old, forgotten social media post from college that the AI is somehow linked to risk.
Exactly. Even if it's totally irrelevant to your financial stability today, that's the danger of predictive perpetuity. It's insidious.
That's really chilling. It almost feels like AI could create this new kind of digital caste system based on things that can never be forgotten.
It certainly has that potential. And this is where it really violently tests, as the source material puts it, the principle of data minimization.
Which is a key part of GDPR, right? Only collect what you need.
Exactly. It's a cornerstone. But the prevailing ethos in a lot of AI development, for a long time anyway, has been more data is better. Feed the beast more data, it gets smarter. But that directly clashes with the idea that you should only collect and process data that's necessary, relevant, and limited to a specific purpose.
So if an AI is just hoovering up everything it can find, even if it's not directly related to its main job, it's violating that principle.
Absolutely. There was a legal scholar, the late Professor Joel Reidenberg, who argued very strongly that the context of data use is paramount. Data collected for one reason, maybe some minor online interaction years ago, can get pulled into an AI's training set and completely repurposed, leading to unforeseen and often discriminatory outcomes when that AI is then used for something totally different, like assessing a job application or a loan. So this unforgiving memory of AI, it becomes a vehicle for perpetuating historical biases, but on this massive automated scale. It reinforces inequalities instead of helping us move past them.
Okay, this sounds incredibly daunting. It feels like we're stuck between the unstoppable force of AI and the immovable object of our fundamental rights. But the experts aren't saying we just give up on the right to be forgotten, are they?
No, definitely not.
They're saying we need to evolve it, adapt our laws for this new reality. So what are the proposals? What's the path forward here?
That's exactly right. The consensus isn't abandonment, it's strategic evolution. Legal experts are generally highlighting 3 crucial strategies to tackle this.
Okay, let's hear them. What's number 1?
First, we absolutely have to champion the development of robust and verifiable machine unlearning protocols.
Right, the digital neurosurgery.
Yeah, but it can't just be a cool research project. The goal is to make these protocols a required legal standard for AI compliance. And developing them is hard enough, but making them verifiable, so regulators or auditors can actually check that the forgetting happened. That's another huge hurdle. If we can't reliably make AI forget, the right stays theoretical.
So getting the tech up to speed, making it mandatory, and making it checkable.
Okay.
What's the second strategy?
The second is about being proactive. We need to push for a radical re-emphasis on data minimization and purpose limitation, specifically at the pre-training stage, before the data even gets near the AI.
Stop the problem before it starts.
Precisely. The core idea is incredibly simple, but potentially very effective.
Hmm.
The most effective way to erase data from a model is to never have included it in the first place.
Don't bake it into the cake.
Exactly. This means being way more stringent about what data gets collected, how it's used, and ensuring it's strictly limited to specific defined purposes before it ever gets ingested by an AI. It's a direct challenge to that old more data is better mindset in AI development. It needs a real cultural shift in the tech world.
That makes a lot of sense. Tackle it at the source.
Yeah.
Okay, and the third strategy.
Finally, we need to look beyond just erasure. We need to strengthen other data subject rights that become even more critical in the AI era.
Because direct erasure is so hard.
Right. So other rights become key tools. Specifically, the right to access your data, the right to rectification that's correcting inaccurate data, and crucially, the right to object to automated decision-making. That's under Article 22 of the GDPR.
Objecting to decisions made solely by machine.
Yes. These rights, especially the right to object and demand human review, might actually be our most powerful tools in holding the unforgettable machine accountable. They let individuals challenge AI-driven decisions that might be based on biased or irrelevant learned patterns.
So it's a multi-pronged approach then. Technical solutions like machine unlearning, preventative measures like data minimization, and strengthening other existing rights like access and objection.
Exactly, tackling it from multiple angles.
These aren't just abstract ideas, are they? These are active areas of research, development, and really crucial legal advocacy, trying to keep our rights intact as technology races forward. It's clear this whole conversation is moving incredibly fast. So you've journeyed with us today from that initial promise back with the Google Spain case, that hope for a right to be forgotten, all the way to this current incredibly complex challenge thrown up by artificial intelligence.
Yeah, and it's really worth stressing that core difference again and just how big the task is. Our past fight was against the memory of the search engine, basically, an index. Our new fight, and it's much more urgent, is against the fundamental nature of a learning machine, a system that doesn't just index data, but weaves it into its very operational fabric. The task ahead it's genuinely monumental. It's about trying to embed the virtue of forgetting into the code of the future.
Embedding the virtue of forgetting.
Yeah, and that's not just a technical tweak. It really challenges the core design philosophy of AI, which has always prioritized accumulating data. It forces us to ask, what kind of intelligence do we actually want if it can never truly let go of the past?
And that, for you, the listener, really brings it home. What does it mean for you to navigate a digital world that still allows for redemption, for growth, for that fundamental human right just to begin again? It is a monumental challenge, absolutely. But it's one we have to take on if we want to ensure our future digital world remains a space that respects those essential human values. Thank you for diving deep with us today.